Hello and welcome to week 4 part C. In this section we will describe the cause and effect diagram. The cause and effect diagram shows in diagrammatic form the relationship between the problem under consideration, also known as the effect, and its potential causes. It is used as part of a brainstorming or troubleshooting session. It is also called fishbone analysis or the Ishikawa diagram, and it organizes the potential causes and sorts them into basic categories. Then shows the relationship between these factors. It provides a technique to systematically analyze a problem, and coming out of the cause and effect diagram we have areas which we can further explore during the improve phase of the make process. The first step in constructing the cause and effect diagram is to identify the problem that we wish to solve. We then enclose this within a box, and from this box we draw the spine of the fishbone. We then add in as branches the major causes. These could be machine, material, method, man. We may also put in other potential causes, such as the environment. On each of these branches, for example the machine, we would identify the sub-causes. And we achieve this by asking a series of questions. Why? Why could the machine have caused this problem? Supposing the machine was out of calibration, why would the machine be out of calibration? And so on. Coming out of the cause and effect diagram, we have factors. We will have identified the factors for further investigation. So the first step is to state the problem and enclose it in a box. We then, from that, draw the spine of our fishbone. We then add in the major cause, the sub-cause, and the smaller cause. And we achieve this by asking a series of questions. Why? Let's take an example of a process. Here we have a process that's producing widgets, and we need to identify the elements of that process that cause variation. So it is the machine, and this could relate to the age of the machine, calibration, the machine settings. We also have material, could be the supplier, the batch of material. There's also variation associated with the man. There could be the training, their motivation, their skill, their knowledge, and there's also variation associated with the method that's employed to perform the assembly. All these constitute variation in our process. So in a cause and effect diagram, what we do is we identify the problem. This may be the quality. We then identify these elements as the major causes that affect variation in that process. We identify these as the machine, the material, the method, and the man. We then ask the questions why. So for example, why is the machine causing variation? And we then identify the sub-causes. So for example, the machine may be incorrectly set. Why is it incorrectly set? Because it's old. Let's go back to our toaster process. If we're looking as to why we have burnt toast every morning, we can break these into the machine, material, method, and man, and we can break into these branches, and we can then ask further questions. Why? Why is the human the cause? Didn't read the manual. There was no training. We can explore and expand this question further by asking further questions. For example, on the machine heats too long. Why does it heat too long? Well, the timer is not set. An alternative reason why it heats too long is a defective timer. The machine is too hot. Why is the machine too hot? There's a problem with the thermostat. If we look at the bread, the material could be the bread size. Could there be a problem with the bread size? The bread size might be too thick. Alternatively, another reason why there could be a problem with the bread size, it's actually too thin. So we ask a series of questions associated with our process for all these major categories. We then identify the ones from our brainstorming session. We will have identified all these causes and sub-causes, and then we will explore, as part of that brainstorming session, which causes we need to explore further. So in this example, we've identified the timer. We need to look at in more detail in relation to the machine, the lack of attention. Why do the personnel have a lack of attention? And in relation to the bread size, we're now going to identify the bread size in relation to the material in more detail. Constructing the cause and effect diagram, we're actually gathering data. And preparing the cause and effect diagram is actually educational itself. We're actually learning a lot more about the process, and we actively seek causes via group discussions and brainstorming sessions. The emphasis should be on solving the problem, not identifying who's to blame. For example, trying to apportion blame or identify who is responsible. The emphasis at all times is on solving the problem. And the cause and effect diagram provides a guide for discussion. Okay, that concludes week 4 of the analyze phase of the DMAIC process. Next week, we will be looking at the improve phase. Thank you.